Good morning. Today is Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. One of the great Jewish storytellers of all times is the Dubno Maggid, a fascinating personality, a rabbi who lived in the 1800s, early 1800s, and he would travel from place to place and he would speak, and the way that he would often convey his lessons was through stories. People used to ask him, how is it that you happen to always have exactly the precise, perfect story to demonstrate the exact point that you're making? So he said, I'll tell you the answer, and I'll tell you by telling you a story. He said there was once a man who was traveling along the road, and he sees a farm, and there's a barn, a large barn, and he sees a young man who's shooting arrows at targets on the barn, and he sees, it's amazing, that every single target, the arrow is in the bullseye. Every single one immediately, directly, precisely in the middle of the target. He's amazed at the talent of this archer, that every single arrow goes to the middle of the target. So he walks over to this fellow and he says, this is incredible. All of your arrows are right on the bullseye. How do you do that? So the man said, well, it's very simple. First, I shoot the arrow, and then I draw the target around the arrow. So the Dubno Maggid is saying about himself that first he would come up with the stories, and then he would wait until there was a moment that it was the precise right story to tell. Personally, I think the Dubno Maggid was being unnecessarily humble, but here's a story that perfectly expresses the point that the Dubno Maggid wanted to make. There was a supermarket, and every day, at the end of the day, it would take the cash that it collected to the bank. So let's say the amount of cash, it's a small town, small supermarket, let's just say at the end of the day, they would collect $10,000. So every day, they took the $10,000 in a bag, and a messenger took it from the grocery store to the bank. Every day, this messenger would walk from the supermarket to the bank carrying the bag with $10,000. There was a ganef, a thief. And this ganef said to himself, I want that money. I want to rob that messenger. And every day he sees the messenger going from the supermarket to the bank with the bag, and he says to himself, I've got to figure out a plan to be able to steal that money. But he couldn't figure out how to do it because the bank was just a short walk down the block from the supermarket. And the messenger would walk during the time of the day when in the afternoon it was crowded. There were lots of people there. So he couldn't figure out how would he be able to steal the money, the bag of money from the messenger. One day, the ganef came up with a plan. In the middle of the block, halfway between the supermarket and the bank, was a tailor. So the ganef went into the tailor shop and he told him the following story. He said, I work for a very wealthy man, and my boss wants to order from you a custom-made suit. So the tailor says, great. I will make him the best suit he ever owned. It will fit him perfectly. It will last for years. I guarantee he'll be happy with his suit. Tell him to come in, and I'll measure him, and then I will make him the most beautiful, perfectly fitted suit he's ever had in his life. The ganef says, no, I can't do that because my boss is far too wealthy, and far too busy to come in to be measured by you. So the tailor says, well, but if he won't come in, how can I measure him for the suit? How can I know what size to make it? So the Ganav says, here's an idea. I will stand here by the door of your shop, and I will watch the passers-by. When I see someone who is the same size as my boss, I will ask that person to come in, and you can measure that person, and then you'll have the measurements, and you can make a suit from those measurements. And the tailor says, that's a very good plan. So the Ganav waits by the side of the door of the tailor shop until he sees the supermarket messenger walking by with his bag of $10,000. So he calls out to the tailor, that man right there, you see that man right there walking by right now? That is the exact size. He is the exact size of my boss. So the tailor steps out of his shop and he asks this man, the messenger, would you mind please come in just for a moment to do a favor? And he explains why I need to measure you so that I can make a suit for someone else who's your size. The messenger agrees. It's going to take a couple of minutes. It doesn't cost him anything. The messenger agrees. The messenger comes into the tailor shop, and he's standing on the platform in front of the mirror, and the tailor tells him to put on a sample jacket, a suit jacket of a sample size to see, should it be a little smaller, a little larger, shorter sleeves, longer sleeves. He hasn't put on the sample. And in order for the messenger to try on the jacket, he puts the bag down beside him, safe, right beside him, and he puts on the jacket, and the tailor starts to measure the sleeves and the chest and the buttons. And all of a sudden, the Ganav quickly grabs the bag and runs out of the store. The messenger realizes that someone is stealing his money, so the messenger runs after the Ganav. But the tailor yells at the messenger, you're wearing my jacket. Come back. You can't leave the store. That's my jacket that you have on. So while the messenger and the tailor are arguing, the Ganav escapes with the $10,000. The Dubno Maggid explains, what did the messenger do wrong? What the messenger did wrong is he should not have put down the bag, a bag with so much money, for any reason. Even for a second, if you have something that is so valuable, that is so important, you should not put it down for any reason, even for a moment. Because what the messenger is holding, that bag of $10,000, it is so valuable that you cannot divert your attention for any reason. The Dubno Maggid explains that the reason that we blow the shofar every morning in shul during the month of Elul is a message to every one of us. Don't put down the bag. What you are carrying now, the opportunity to prepare for Rosh Hashana, the opportunity to begin introspection and thinking about what we'll be praying for and what we want to change within ourselves and how we are going to approach God on Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur and Sukkos. Those preparations are so valuable. Don't be distracted. Don't put down the bag, because if you are distracted even for a moment, you might lose it all. Remember how valuable these days are. Much more than a bag filled with $10,000. But the ability to prepare ourselves to meet God on Rosh Hashana, on Yom Kippur, and Sukkos. Use these days. Don't put down the bag. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.